Benjamin Franklin once said that beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. Shakespeare said that for a quart of ale is meal for a king. For centuries, people across the world have enjoyed beer. Beer is both a social drink and the subject of great discussion. Beer can be consumed to enjoy or to criticize. Either way, beer has always been a magical beverage. Beers come in many colors, styles, and flavors, but all beer is created in the same basic way. Today, you will learn the basics of beer making.
Before making beer, it's important to know what beer is. Beer is an alcoholic beverage created from malted barley, hops, yeast, and water, the fermentation of which creates the beverage that we all know and love. This leads us to the first step in the brewing process.
First step in making your own home brew entails that you locate your local brew merchandise shop, or you can read reviews online and make your desired purchase of a beer kit. We suggest the Brewer's Best Kit, which has worked perfectly fine for us thus far. There are two types of kits, an equipment kit and a beer kit, with the ingredients needed to make your beer. The kit includes all the essentials which will get you familiar with the brewing process and hone your skills to crafting your perfect beer.
Step 2 is collecting water. It is said that water is the most important ingredient of beer. If your water tastes terrible, then your beer will too. And who wants poor tasting beer? Nobody. Since tap water has too much chlorine, it's a good idea to use bottled water. If you're like us, however, you can procure water from your local spring. We are lucky enough to live near the famous Saratoga Springs of upstate New York. You want to collect at least 6 gallons of water for your beer.
Step 3 of the process is to thoroughly clean and sanitize all brewing equipment and utensils that will come in contact with any ingredients, wort, or beer. We cannot stress this enough. If items are not properly cleansed, bacteria can grow, which will alter the taste of the beer. The bacteria is not harmful, but affects the quality of the beer taste. Yuck!
Step 4 is to pour 2.5 gallons of clean water into your brew pot and begin to heat. Pour the crushed grains into the grain bag and tie a loose knot at the top of the bag. When the water is within an appropriate steeping temperature, between 150 to 165 degrees, place the grain bag into the brew pot. Steep grains for approximately 20 minutes. Remove grain bag and without squeezing, allow the liquid to drain back into the brew pot. Your water is now called wort. This is not the kind of wort you get in your skin, but this is wort with an O, so you wouldn't want to use compound W on this kind of wort.
Step 5 is to add the malts. Open your can of liquid malt extract and place the open can into a small saucepan of boiling water. This will help to warm the extract and make it easier to remove from the can. Bring your wort to a gentle rolling boil. Remove from heat and add all of the included liquid malt extract and dry malt extract to the boiling wort. If there is malt in the bottom of the can, swirl some of the wort around to ensure that all of it is put into the wort. You do not want the extracts to hit the bottom of the pot and scorch. Continuously stir the extract into the wort as it returns to a gentle rolling boil.
Slowly sprinkle the bittering hops into the boiling wort. Be careful not to let your wort boil over the top of the pot. Not only is it bad for your beer, it stains your stovetop too. My wife reminds me of that each time she cooks me dinner, so about once a month. Anyway, accurately note the time the bittering hops were added to the boiling wort. Continue the gentle rolling boil. Boil for about 45 minutes and then add the flavoring hops. Boil for another 10 minutes. Finally, add the aroma hops, the good smelling ones, and boil for the final 5 minutes. Lastly, terminate the boil. Cool the wort down to approximately 70 degrees Fahrenheit by placing the brew pot in a sink filled with cold water. Throw ice in there if you want to. For us, it just seemed like an added expense. We are college students, you know. This works best with a double basin sink filled with cold water. While the brew pot is placed in the cold water, continuously stir the wort to help transfer the heat from the wort to the water. Alternate the brew pot between basins to cool the wort as fast as you can. The quicker and more efficiently this is done, the less cloudy your home brew will be. And who wants a cloudy beer if it's supposed to be crystal clear? Nobody.
Pour the wort into a sanitized fermenter. Avoid transferring the heavy sediments from the brew pot to the fermenter.
It's transfer time, you know what it is. It's transfer time, gotta curse the kids. It's transfer time, you know what it is. It's transfer time, gotta curse the kids.
Add enough clean water, approximately 2.5 to 3 gallons, to the fermenter to bring the wort to approximately 5 gallons. You need a tool called the hydrometer in order to measure how much sugar is in the wort. This reading is called the specific gravity. You will need to know this later to calculate the alcohol by volume. Sprinkle the contents of the yeast packet over the top of the entire wort surface and let sit for 15 minutes. This will help the yeast to begin to digest the sugar from the malt, starting the fermentation process. After the 15 minutes is up, stir for 2 minutes to make sure the yeast is distributed throughout. Firmly secure the lid onto the fermenter. Attach a device called an airlock to the top of the lid. This will tell you if your beer is fermenting. Move the fermenter to a dark, warm, temperature-stable area.
Next, you wait. In about 24 hours, the airlock on your fermenter should start bubbling, which means you have active fermentation. This is a good thing. The bubbling should stop within 3 to 5 days, but you should leave your beer alone for at least a week before bottling. Otherwise, fermentation might not be complete, carbon dioxide could continue to be produced, and your bottles could explode. This is a bad thing. While you're waiting for your beer to ferment, consider taking up an exotic new hobby such as astronomy or curling. Now that your beer has been sitting for at least a week, it's time to bottle. First, you want to prepare the priming sugar. This solution will provide food for the remaining yeast and allow your beer to carbonate or condition in the bottle. The priming sugar is added to water and boiled. Once your priming sugar is finished, add it to the bottling bucket. Then, carefully siphon the beer from your fermenting bucket to the bottling bucket. Try not to get any air in the beer. Be sure not to siphon the yeast on the bottom of the bucket. Once this is done, fill up your clean and sanitized bottles, cap them with a capper, and store them in a dark and warm place that is out of the sunlight. Make sure you dispose of the junk at the bottom, otherwise known as trub.
Time to wait again. This time you should allow the beer in the bottles to condition for at least 2 weeks. It is generally agreed that beer that is allowed to condition longer tastes better. 2 weeks is the minimum. While you're waiting your 2 weeks, now would be a good time to review the vocabulary that we have learned.
Wort, the sweet liquid made by adding malts and hops to boiling water. Hydrometer, the tool that allows you to see how much sugar is in your beer. Specific gravity, specific amount of sugar in the beer as told by the hydrometer. Trub, the yeasty stuff at the bottom of your fermenting bucket.
Finally, it is time. This is the moment you have been waiting for. All of your blood, sweat, and tears have led to this one moment. As you crack open your beer for the first time, hear the fizz of the carbonation, and inhale the scent, you feel a sense of accomplishment wash over you as you realize that this was something that you created.
As you take your first sip, the carbonation tickles your tongue as the complex flavors of your very own brew take shape. You've joined a centuries-old tradition, but the beer that you crafted is unique. Remember, homebrews are best served with friends over a rowdy drinking song. If you don't know any drinking songs, try singing the theme song of a recent TV sitcom like Gilligan's Island or Cheers. As Rudyard Kipling said, payday came, and with it, beer.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name. Ba, ba, ba. And they're always glad you came. Ba, ba, ba. You wanna be where you can see our